so Laha couldn't fly up a hill.
Okay.
So it was just a sheer volume of debris coming down on top of me, mud, rocks, water, snow, everything that was blowing through the air. And that then, as I was looking out, burst into the building and pushed me up against the wall, which was only a metre or so behind me of the building. And that, rocks the size of bowling balls and bigger were coming hurtling in and crushing the walls, the floors, my legs, feel my bones breaking and crunching as they came in, and flesh being kind of torn off my leg. It was absolutely horrific.
Hey, and welcome to Awesomeness, where I have the privilege of speaking with people from New Zealand and around the world who dream big and achieve more. Today we've got a good friend, William Pike. William Pike and I actually both went to school on the North Shore of Auckland. He was into his water polo, he was an adventurer. He went on into an adventure that would change his reality, change his perception, but he had the mindset to go on and write a book, become an incredible speaker, set up a William Pike Challenge Award, go on some epic adventures that we'll talk about today. He's a father of two. William, you're an inspiration, man, and it's a real privilege to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cam. It's a real pleasure to be here today to have a chat about life. It's going to be cool.
How's it going in these first few days of being a father to two now?
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit of a game changer, that's for sure. Little Oliver, born 2 weeks ago tomorrow. So he's just starting to open his eyes and kind of look around, having a bath a few times. And of course, our oldest, who's nearly 3, Harriet, she's saying it's my baby, and she's quite protective over him. So different dynamics in the household, but it's I'm really excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, it's exciting. And when you look at your children, do you kind of think back to your earlier days and, the kind of original dreams that you had as a kid?
In a way, I kind of look at them and I think, wow, okay, they're so young, haven't done anything, what experiences or opportunities can I kind of create for them and, set them off on the right path. And I guess on that note, I'm taking Harriet, my nearly 3-year-old, camping for the first time tomorrow night. So
cool.
I think it's going to be a pretty exciting experience. Could go very pear-shaped, I'm well aware. But I just think that would be a cool thing to do with her. And obviously just want to keep offering those experiences, not necessarily in the outdoors, but in everything else in life. So, yeah.
And it's just a reflection of your experiences and your passion for the outdoors and what you develop as life skills through doing stuff like that. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, when I go back to my childhood, I think I was exceptionally lucky that Mum and Dad gave me the opportunities to get outdoors. They were never outdoorsy people themselves, and they aren't, but they gave me the opportunities to do new stuff and try things. And when I look back to the Scouts activities I did, or outdoor adventures, or to Westlake Boys High School, where I really fell in love with the outdoors through my outdoor education class, which I actually came top of the class too. It's the only thing I ever came top of the class in.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
awesome.
We did all sorts of tramping, but when I left school, I kind of kept that up, and we're doing tramping trips, crossing creeks, cooking on bivvies, sleeping in bivvies, lighting fires. But when I look back on all that, I'm like, well, actually, those experiences were about me being a leader or a communicator or a problem solver or developing my social skills. And I think it was those experiences when I was a youngster that shaped me into the person that I am today, but really gave me the skill set to be able to navigate some huge challenges which I've kind of faced in life. So, yeah.
And with those skill sets, did they come as you were doing it, or did you go into these climbs and adventures kind of naive and learned it along the way? Or
there was a huge amount of naivety going into it. A lot of kind of failed trips. Or
what's an example of a failed trip?
Well, I suppose it's never really a failed trip, but
in terms
big
of
learning,
big
learning experience. Yeah, well, exactly. You also make it home, right? But I remember going with a good friend of mine called Cameron Walker, who you may or may not know. And, we decided that we wanted some bad weather experience. So we were in the Tongariro National Park and we climbed Mount Tongariro in pretty bad weather, and it deteriorated further, and we kind of got got disorientated, I should say, in a large kind of plateau with snow on it. We ended up digging ourselves in, and we had all the right equipment, and we were in bivvy bags for about 36 hours before we decided to emerge and find the track again and kind of head home. So in my mind, that was a huge kind of learning experience in terms of confidence and a lot of skills that I guess I reflected on. And we were big time into our mountaineering back then, and we wanted all the experience we could get, for going on bigger and better trips, perhaps, let's say in the Southern Alps. So,
And so, how old were you when you had that?
I was probably 21 or 22.
Okay.
21, I think. Yeah.
And what happened during those 24, 36 hours that you were in the bivvy?
I look at it as quite a comical experience. There's two blokes in their bivvy bags, and a bivvy bag, in case people don't know, is really a Gore-Tex bag with a zip on it, and there's no room other than putting a sleeping bag in and maybe a few bits and pieces at your head. So there was a lot of chit chat going on, but that was when the wind wasn't too strong because you couldn't hear each other. There was a bit of where do you actually think we are? Looking at the map, a bit of eating, toileting becomes really interesting in a snowstorm. Trying to get out of your bivvy bag and going number ones or number twos and getting back in again, and just kind of resting as well. But there's a bit of nervousness, a bit of edge you've got going on in there. So fun times.
And that attitude you have of actually making those things happen, because when we're talking about the other adventures you've had, but these are adventures that a lot of people think about or they're on a bucket list or dreams, but you actually go out there and you make them happen, even as a young 21-year-old. We're going to have a dream of climbing Tongariro, you do it. So what's been your kind of mindset for making your dreams happen?
If I think about the outdoors, it was having a base knowledge. I think you've got to have some idea of what you're doing before you go and put yourself into a remote situation where things could deteriorate. So I was kind of guy that kind of dotted my T's and crossed my I's and had everything kind of planned as much as I could, and I felt as though if I went in being well prepared. And I had researched, alternative routes in and out, things like that, then I could cope with most kind of situations that were thrown at me. And I suppose that kind of mindset is kind of how I've approached other aspects of kind of life as well, and not just in the outdoors. But often you ask yourself, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? Or if something goes wrong and someone says, why are we there? Can you answer that? And if it's not a good answer, maybe you should get out of there. So, yeah.
And so when we think back to that day and that night that you guys were up there on Mount Ruapehu and kind of the worst scenario did happen, can you take us there and what was happening and what resulted from that?
Yeah, so I was 22 at the time. It was September, school holidays, and I took my mate James Christie, who's still a very good friend of mine, mountaineering for his first time, and I'd done lots of seasons, and I was just 100% full of beans, enthusiasm, so fit, So we left the Whakapapa ski field and tore up the mountain a million miles an hour. We had great big heavy backpacks on with food for 6 days, tents and snow shovels and axes and crampons and all of the bells and whistles. And we had a bit of a loose plan. We eventually got up to the summit plateau, which is an area on Mount Ruapehu, which is over a kilometre square and it's flat, and we decided we'd head over towards the Crater Lake, and we got to the dome shelter, which is a small building. It's about the size of the room we're in, actually, but it's half-star accommodation. There's no toilet or power or seating. It's just a plywood box. So we threw our gear in there and lightened our packs up and headed off towards the summit. Didn't make it that day. It was pretty. It was soft snow conditions, which the chances of avalanches are higher. So we got really close to the summit, but we turned around and headed back. Mountain was always going to be another day, I tell myself, in those situations. And we got back to Dome Shelter and just kind of bedded in for the night, and we were lying on those thin blue kind of sleeping mats, not the most comfortable things, but they kept us warm. And I was really excited. The next day, my alarm was set for 4:30 in the morning, and I wanted to be up, fed, and then heading out the door before light and be up on top of Mount Ruapehu for sunrise. James, I thought that couldn't be a better start to the day, but it was going to take a bit of effort to get there, right? So I was just about asleep. It was probably 8 o'clock at night, and I heard a rumble outside of the building, and all of a sudden the door of the dome shelter, which was just beyond my feet where I was lying on the floor, the door just blew open, a million miles an hour, and it tore off its hinges and ended up in the far corner of the building. So,
And it's just from wind, or
so this was from a displacement of pressure after I don't have the words to explain it, but a pressure wave from the eruption. So and I'll get to why it erupted soon, but when Mount Ruapehu erupted, I guess it displaced so much air in the atmosphere that was what blew the door open, which was quite incredible, since the door was actually really jammed shut with ice that had kind of melted around the seam of it. And the door blew open. I got up onto my knees and grabbed the door frame to look outside and see what the fuss was about, and before me, I could see Mount Ruapehu erupting. It was 1.5 million cubic meters of mud, rocks, and water that had just been instantly ejected from the volcano. Crazy sight to see.
And no warning of that happening. You had obviously done your research.
Right, yeah, absolutely. We told our parents what we're doing, where we're going. We checked in with the Department of Conservation, not about volcanic activity or anything, but we told them what we're doing, where we're going, and we had a look at the GeoNet before we headed up, and there was no signs of unrest, if you like. So what it was called a blue sky eruption, so unexpected. No one could predict that was going to happen, and under the crater lake itself, there's two vents. One points straight up to the sky, one points straight to the dome shelter.
Okay.
And as luck would have it,
that's where you were.
That's where we were, and that's the vent that decided to blow. But after reading lots of geography stuff, and actually the report on the eruption, there was underwater landslides over a long period of time of rocks that closed the vent up. Therefore, gas built up underneath, and boom, when it decided to, it erupted. And there's obviously been a lot of chit-chat on the White Island eruption, the Whakaari White Island eruption that's just happened recently. And, my heart goes out to those victims, families, everyone impacted down there. But the key differences between that eruption and the Mount Ruapehu eruption that I was in was the White Island was like a hot steam eruption, which is clearly why everyone got so badly burnt, whereas this eruption was a large gas eruption that wasn't steaming hot. Still gas and still pressure and things involved, but I was just so fortunate that for me I wasn't burnt in any way.
Yep. But there was a lahar that came down?
Well, it wasn't a lahar that came into the hut. It was just because we were actually on top of a hill, so a lahar couldn't fly up a hill.
Okay.
So it was just a sheer volume of debris coming down on top of me, mud, rocks, water, snow, everything that was blowing through the air. And that then, as I was looking out, burst into the building and pushed me up against the wall, which was only a metre or so behind me of the building. And that, rocks the size of bowling balls and bigger were coming hurtling in and crushing the walls, the floors, my legs. I feel my bones breaking and crunching as they came in, and flesh being kind of torn off my leg. It was absolutely horrific.
And is this happening over a period of time, or is it
happening
real fast?
Real fast. Like, door blew open, 2 or 3 seconds later, grab it, look outside. A few seconds later, boom, and it comes.
And it's covering you and your mate?
Well, my mate, he was half asleep, which was actually a good thing for him.
He was still asleep?
No, he wasn't asleep, but he was, let's say we'll say half asleep.
Yeah.
He just about sleeps through anything. But he, of course, woke up when there was mud and rocks and water sloshing around his feet, and he moved into the corner of the building, which was a smart move because he wasn't in the firing line of all the debris. Okay. I was. So James probably stood in the corner of the building for 30 seconds or so quite happily, out of harm's way. Mind you, it was pitch black and he couldn't see what was going on, and just a metre or two away, I was getting crushed by rocks and pinned into my legs were pinned into the floorboards. They were that badly kind of crushed and broken.
And he's knowing that you're feeling not able to move? Or?
Well, at that stage, I was probably screaming and yelling profanities and whatnot. And then when everything went quiet for a moment or two, I said, help, mate. I'm pretty sure the mountain just erupted. Like, can you come try to get me out? We need to get out of here real quick. not thinking that my legs are too badly damaged. And he kind of hops over in his bare feet and his undies, right, because we'd just been in our sleeping bags, and he starts to frantically dig. I'm doing the same thing, but our hands were useless. You're digging into volcanic rock and snow with our bare hands. So we tried ice axes and shovels, but nothing really could be done. So I guess the decision was made for James to get some gear on and to run down the mountain to save his life and hopefully mine.
And this is in the middle of the night.
This is at this point, it's probably about 8:30 in the night. So early in the evening, but winter, so dark and outside as well. -8 degrees.
Surrounded by rocks, and I imagine
with the threat of another eruption.
Yep.
So it was just a diabolical situation to be in. I was sitting there thinking, is another eruption going to happen? If it does,
because you're then left up there by yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
And a key moment was, James says, "All right, where do I go?" Because he didn't know where to go. This is his first time on the mountain. So I explained, and then he said, "All right, well, I'm out of here." And I said, "Oh, hold on a sec, mate." I said, "Can you please tell my friends and my family that I love them?" Because I was genuine and serious about that, and I thought, far out, I don't think I'm going to survive this. And James, being James, said, "No, mate, tell him yourself," and disappeared.
And are you panicking at this point? Like, what's the actual?
I was trying to keep really cool and calm.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you would have been trained.
Exactly.
To do,
I had a lot of first aid certificates under my belt through surf lifesaving and teaching and the outdoors and stuff. So, in my mind was, okay, I can't see my legs because they're buried, so I don't know the extent of the damage. However, they're pretty damn sore, and I could be losing blood. I got to get myself warm, and I got to stay awake and kind of focused, because I knew the hypothermia would eventually get me and shut me down, and I'd pass out from the cold. So unfortunately I was wet, and the only thing I had was a half of a sleeping bag that had been torn in half, which I wrapped up around the top of my body to try and keep myself warm. But then I was kind of hyperventilating inside it and thinking, I just couldn't breathe properly. So I took it off, and then by that stage I was probably so cold and I wasn't really thinking straight. And, I was thinking, how long might it take James to get down the mountain? Would rescuers actually come? And I gave James the rescuers a 10-hour kind of window to get to me, and I gave myself a 5-hour window to survive until I died. So I worked out pretty quick that I was going to die up there, which was not a good feeling to go through your head.
No. So how long did that process take for rescue?
So James would have left, I reckon, before 9 o'clock, and the rescuers turned up, I think it was about 1:30 in the morning. So James had
so right on about 5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, funnily enough. So James had what was a heroic dash down the mountain. He was underprepared because all his gear was buried, so he was in boots.
Right. He just had what he had,
undies,
right?
and my Gore-Tex jacket.
Really?
Yeah, because everything else was gone.
So he was at quite high risk himself.
He was at very high risk, and a lot of people, when they are lost on Mount Ruapehu, who actually kind of veer around towards the wrong way to the left of the glacier and go into no man's land, whereas he was lucky that he was following some ski tracks and he ended up seeing a snow groomer that had a bloke inside it. Oh. They were able to meet, and James was warm and safe, and they could organise a rescue.
Oh. And then I imagine it's sort of, you wake up in hospital.
Yeah, I mean, the last things I remember.
The realities of it.
Yeah, the last thing I remember it was thinking, far out, what are mum, dad, and parents and friends going to think when I died in a volcanic eruption, and being gutted about all the things I was going to miss out in life, and then falling asleep, passing out, and then boom, wake up in hospital, you beauty.
And was it a you beauty moment? Like,
it was a you beauty moment, yeah.
'Cause I seem to, obviously this is in the media, think it was going on, you were in hospital, and then within what felt like hardly any time at all, you were writing a book, you were putting it out there, you were becoming a speaker, you had this vision, and what were the conversations that people were having with you in order to come out as you have, as quickly as you did?
Yeah. I mean, everything from the outside looks as though it happened easily and quickly, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
For anyone's success stories, your own, mine, and others. But hospital was a long, hard graft. The first month I don't really recall because I was under so much meds, and then the last part was I can obviously had good recollection, but I think a couple of key things in there was for me to not go down the pathway of depression or mental health issues was having my friends and family coming in, and mum slept with me in the hospital for a month when I got out of the intensive care room when she could. That just shows her kind of dedication, and having someone there beside me, having friends, family, I guess was enough to keep me upbeat, focused, that things wasn't the end of the world. I could get my life back on track if I kind of wanted to. So that was absolutely essential. I also think having a sense of purpose was really important. I discovered that in the mountains and tramping. Friends, family, people was all part of my kind of purpose. So I always believe that purpose drives individuals and organisations, and it gave me the self-belief and the courage and the confidence to begin to face up to those massive challenges that were in hospital. But there's one, I can't remember who it was, but it was a nurse. It was quite influential in a way. She came up to me in hospital and she said, look, there's all this media attention and papers, television, whatever. She says, you can, if you want to, you can say no to this and go back to being William Pike and recover and get on with your life, or you can chat to these people and get your story out there, and who knows what will come of it. And it was quite a I don't know, momentous occasion, I suppose, or a moment in my life. And I kind of thought about that in hospital. I thought, I'm pretty bloody happy with who I am, what I'm doing, but I've always been one for grabbing an opportunity and seeing what comes of something. So I thought, I'll have a chat to these guys.
And here we are today.
And here we are today. Crazy.
And I mean, I'd love to have so much more time, but time is flying through here. But when those are some pretty amazing words that lady said to us. People say that actions speak louder than words.
That's right.
But small words can inspire big action. So as a result of that, in a bit of a snapshot, what have you gone on to do?
Yeah, sure.
And
I'll try and
William
snapshot
Pike
it for you.
2.0, I guess.
Yeah, well, exactly. Before I left hospital, Penguin Books approached me to write a book, which she felt was a bit premature, Dorothy Vinicum, but her husband taught me, so there was a bit of a connection there, and I was actually really pleased they did, because I had a lot of time to kill then and when I got home, so writing was a therapeutic way. So the following year, I published my book, Every Day's a Good Day, and I was stoked. That was a full uncut version of what happened on the mountain. It was me growing up, a youngster, all my adventures I went on, and then leaving hospital and kind of taking those first steps in my kind of prosthetics. So that took me a good 6 months to write. I had a lot of time at home, about 12 months kind of recovering, learning to walk in my kind of prosthetic leg, which took and still takes a lot of time and effort to kind of keep on top of. And
to adjust to walking about.
Yeah, as a new amputee, you tend to go to the leg shop. I like to call it a leg shop, make arms there as well. I like to go there. Well, I used to go there kind of like once a month for about 5 years or more often, like just constantly trying to refine the fit, because as your stumps, when it's been freshly amputated, it then shrinks and muscles waste away, and you're always chasing a fit.
Yeah.
And me with a trauma, I don't have a lot of stump. There's this bit of scar tissue and panel beating going on left, right and centre. So it's tricky to fit. So it took a lot of kind of time and effort, as I said, still does. And in amongst, I guess, trying to get my prosthetic leg to fit in those first few years, I returned to the classroom as a teacher. But it was interesting, because I showed up on my first day legless, not drunk, but no prosthetic leg, and I was sweating bullets, and I kind of went. It was a new kids, new classroom, etc. I went in and kind of got
sweating agent to how will people respond?
Yeah, just nervous, and just thinking, far out, this is just so bizarre. All these kids are going to think that this teacher hops in on his crutches. Not
because
that,
have they
it
seen
worried.
you before? Like, were these students you had before you lost your leg?
No. I was at a different school,
Okay.
teaching when I lost my leg, and it just so worked out. This one was closer to home, and I went there, which was great. I guess I loved the teaching, and not long after I began teaching, I got a phone call out of the blue from a parent whose son went to a school down in Taupo, and he said, seen you in the media and stuff, and just, I see you're a teacher, just wondered if you're interested in helping us set up a youth development program. We could. I was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So we worked on it for the course of the year, and at the end of the year, he said, do you mind if we call it the William Pike Challenge? And I said, nah, it sounds a bit weird, like, not really. But then I was like, oh, look, if it's just you guys, then that's cool. And all of a sudden, this William Pike Challenge was born, and I kept teaching for a few years, and then got to a point where the William Pike Challenge was growing so much and it required my attention. I couldn't teach, and I thought, this is a fork in the road. Do I keep teaching or do I grab that other opportunity?
Yeah.
And I just love the idea of blending my passion for the outdoors and education. So I threw in the towel, put in my resignation in teaching, and stepped out into the big wide world of business, which I knew absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, and so it felt like you were stepping into the unknown, although you knew what you were going to do. You're like,
Well, I don't actually know.
You're going away from the comfort of a full-time job.
That's right. I wouldn't say I knew what I was going to do. I mean, I had some idea of what I was going to do, and how it was going to work, but it was a huge leap for me. I think one of the things that I could do it myself was that, in a way, I knew I had a bit of a safety net. If things didn't work out, I could have gone back to teaching, and I'd developed some really good skills through my first few years of teaching. But I was prepared to give it a go and take that loss if it happened.
And now you often speak about that thing of stepping outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is that? Like, for you, what is the benefits of doing that?
I mean, for me, kind of stepping outside my comfort zone has, I think, always been my kind of key to success. If I'm ever wanting to achieve something or grab an opportunity or create impact, I've always had to leave myself or kind of other people outside of the comfort zone. And otherwise, I just don't think you can create that change of impact or opportunities or kind of reach your goals. And I look back on all the things that I've done, whether it be summit Mount Scott in Antarctica, or learn to walk, or make that decision to get my life back on track in hospital, or take that first step in my prosthetic leg, or step up onto a stage in front of 2,000 people. I've always have to step outside of my comfort zone, and to do that, or to lead myself or my team, I need to have a few kind of things in place. And the first thing is a purpose or a why, and I kind of mentioned that in the beginning. And I just think that's so crucial that you understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. And for me, that helped me overcome those challenges, and it does the same thing in business today. And the other thing is risks, I think you need to kind of take that risk to step outside your comfort zone. If you're not wanting to take the risk, there's not going to be the reward. And one of my sayings is, when there's a choice, choose adventure. And I like to choose an adventurous option as opposed to a safe and more comfortable one. And I guess the other thing with stepping outside your comfort zone, for me, it's sort of being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Totally.
Like, you can relate to that, and it's something that I find is achieved with small steps. I don't think you want to throw yourself onto a stage of 2,000 people if you haven't spoken to a couple of hundred before, and that goes with anything in life. So it's just building up step by step.
Small steps.
And then having a team of people, like my friends and family were so essential with my recovery. My colleagues, my staff that work for me now, they're an essential part of what I do. And I can honestly say I've never achieved anything great by myself. It's always been a team effort. And one of our quotes up on the wall in the office is that nothing great is ever achieved by sitting inside your comfort zone. And I think that rings true for a lot of things.
And so when you made that decision to go down to Antarctica to then climb Mount Scott, like, you'd obviously done a bit of climbing between the two.
That's right.
Was that quite a pinnacle climb for you?
Oh, absolutely. There's a huge amount of training that went in. And
you're now having to train with one leg.
Exactly. I mean, if I give a snapshot of like a timeline, it was after the accident, it was a year of learning to walk again, and then I think the following 2 years after the accident, I think I climbed Mount Tongariro, which was the first mountain I ever climbed. So it seemed quite fitting that I climbed that one. And then I guess as the years ticked over, I did lots of bushwalking. I returned to the dome shelter. That for me was a number one goal of going back to where
so
it kind of happened.
back to where it
climbing
happened.
back to the dome shelter where the eruption happened.
What emotions were going on there? What did that feel like?
It was extraordinary. For me it was proving success or proving that I could do something and going full circle. So it wasn't, I wasn't upset or scared or anything like that, but I just felt like I'd knocked the bugger off, like it was quite a big deal, and faced that fear and got back in front of the volcano again, and conquered it, and it was a pleasure to be able to do it with James as well.
Yep.
So that was for anyone with two legs, you can probably get there, but for me, any mountain is a big challenge, so it was quite extraordinary.
And what does it actually feel like now to be an amputee?
Yeah, it's a great question. Being an amputee, there's so much more, than people always understand or don't.
So much more to it.
So much more to it. Yeah, exactly. So, stumps. My stumps are short stumps, so I'm having to, as I said, really kind of fine tune that kind of fit. I suppose if you talk about kind of, I guess, things that are challenging, the biggest challenge for me as an amputee is sweat. So, like, currently I've kicked my leg off now because I was walking in the hot in the sun and racing down, and it was a bit sweaty. So, against my skin, I have a silicone kind of sock, and then I have a cotton sock, and then it goes into my socket. And of course, silicone, like plastic, doesn't breathe. So you imagine putting your hand into a rubber glove and wearing it all day. It's just sweaty. The advantages of silicone are that it's soft, the silicone wears, and it protects the skin, so it's quite a nice interface to have when you're not sweating. But on a bushwalk, or maybe we'll kind of get back to Antarctica, I was climbing up the glacier behind Mount Scott for about 6 hours, and I'm constantly stopping, probably every half an hour, because we're working hard with heavy gear, etc. As the sun's beating down. Stopping every half an hour, pulling the leg off. I'd dry the silicone liner off, just rub it against my top as you saw before, then put it back on and carry on and do it again 100 times before kind of getting anywhere. So for me, if someone can come up with an idea with a breathable silicone sock, they'll make squillions, and they'll solve a lot of problems for amputees. So
you should do it, man.
Please someone sort that out. And other things like going down hills for a long period of time, because I don't have the flexion in my ankle, they can get uncomfortable after an hour or two or a few hours. But again, it's just stop.
Are you like? Do you feel disabled by it? Are you self-conscious of it? Do you look back and go, man, I wish we'd never climbed that mountain?
No,
because that's not a perception that I get.
That's right. No,
I'm just curious.
Yeah. And it's a question
because you've had both. I was born as I am.
Yeah.
You've had like a life, and your life in what people would perceive to be an epic change, an epic thing to adapt to,
That's
and
right.
you appear to have done that. So, as in a snapshot, how, why, what do you tell yourself?
I've never looked back at the moment on Mount Ruapehu and thought I wish I was never there. I love what I was doing, and I think that has helped me, I guess, go forward. I wasn't doing something silly. There wasn't a drunk driver that hit me. I feel quite fortunate in a way that it was a volcano, and I don't see myself as disabled, and I don't care if people call me disabled or not. It's, I guess, by the dictionary that you're right if you do, but. I think
but that must be a big title to adjust to, or
not really. I've never really given it much thought. I was just like, okay, what do I get out of this? I get a disability card, to put in my car if I want to park somewhere.
And that's the perception I get from you, and that a lot of people get. And that is what we believe. It's what we feel. It's what we put out there, and that is a result what we get.
Absolutely. So, it was kind of like the fork in the road for me. Do I just sit on the couch and just take things easy, or do I actually go back to that life adventure that I really, really wanted? And for me, that the pull of outdoors adventure, being part of things that money can't buy, or taking risks or commitment, that really motivates me. So I just thought, well, we'll just got to get around this somehow. And obviously, sure, there's huge compromises as an amputee. It's not always easy, but there's plenty of other people in a much worse situation than you and I, right? So
absolutely. So just to finish things up,
yeah.
What's the best advice that you've been given, that you think about, that you share?
Yeah, the best advice was that I can think of, that always pops to mind when someone asks that question, was simply from my dad when I was younger, and he just said, boy, if you're going to do something, do it well. And it's simple advice. And whenever I take on a project or do something, I give it my 110%, and I don't do anything in kind of half. So whether it be in the outdoors or in life or with family or business, I just give it 110%, and that's just what I kind of tuck in the back of my mind.
Yeah, and you did that with your proposal to Bex, right?
That's right. Yeah. I suppose we'll talk about that.
On that.
Well, of course. So you climb your first mountain, Mount Tongariro. You
Yeah.
lose your leg, you go and climb Mount Tongariro. Seems fitting, right, with a prosthetic leg. And then I thought, well, with Bex, my girlfriend back in the day, I thought, right, if I'm going to propose to her, it's got to be cool. It's got to be adventure. So I planned it out and headed down to Mount Tongariro, raced up the Tongariro crossing in the middle of winter. Made her a cup of tea on the way up, spilt it inside my bag. I was so nervous. She says I was walking as fast as I've ever been walking, And we got up onto the ridge of Mount Tongariro. Beautiful bluebird day. The wind's howling, and we're struggling to stand upright. All the cords and that are flapping on your backpack. And we get up onto the summit. And I think, right, this is it. And then I look at her, and she's got her helmet on, her goggles on, and a balaclava on. I'm like, far out, I can't even see her reaction or see anything here. So I was like, all right, well, let's go down the mountain a wee bit. So we were doing this loop track, so we then headed down off track actually until we found a bit of lee off in the wind, and had a couple of Marmite and cheese crackers, and then she took her gear off, and then not all gear, just her mask and stuff, and helmet, and then I kind of popped the question there. So
Cool.
it was pretty awesome.
Awesome.
And she sure wasn't expecting it. So Mount Tongariro has got a very special place in my heart, and I really look forward to taking my kids on their first mountain up there. It's a great
Cool,
place.
William. Well, you do things in different ways. You're certainly memorable. You're having a great impact in New Zealand and around the world, both with the William Pike Challenge Award and your speaking. It looks like that move from your secure teaching job to chasing your dreams really did lead to you achieving more. And I really appreciate you coming in and sharing that with us.
No, pleasure.
So thanks a lot,
Been
and
great.
enjoy your
Cool.
awesomeness.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Good.
Awesome people of the world. What inspires me greatly about William is his perspective, which is how and why he's gone on to achieve so much, ultimately inspiring and equipping people to survive, to thrive, to see that every day's a good day. How would you react to seeing your mate pinned to the ground during a volcanic eruption, knowing that you were where you were in a big part because of that person? Maybe you're not on a volcano, but maybe nothing around you is going to plan. For William and his mate, the chances of everything on that mountain becoming a nightmare was higher than the chance of a rescue that did occur, meaning that through preparation, through communication, through calculated risks, although we hope we never have to go there, they truly do pay off. So often in life we come across forks in the journey, and William taught us through two of his, and I love his words of, when there's a choice, choose adventure. With it, the most disabling situation can lead onto the most enabling life. Thank you for making the choice to listen to this podcast, and thank you to the team at the NBR, the National Business Review, for choosing to be a part of this podcast adventure with me, enabling me to record within a true pinnacle of studio awesomeness. So in the words of William in his book, every day's a good day. So enjoy your awesomeness